artificial intelligence or AI is about to physically start showing up on the side of new construction homes. Not like speculation, not in a movie, not 5 years from now, later this year. One of the biggest home builders in America partnered with NVIDIA, the chip company that does all of the AI chips, to put what they're calling potentially mini AI data centers on the exteriors of their brand new homes. I want to get into it. I want to talk about it. I want to show you what this might mean for you. And I want to give you some real perspective as it pertains to DFW that nobody, honestly, nobody is talking about. What they're going to try and sell you if this comes out at the design center, it's going to be, hey, we got discounted electricity, free backup batteries, solar panels, lower internet bills. But here's the thing that I think nobody is talking about. You don't own the thing that they're going to install. The corporation, they have an easement to access it and you can't remove it. And then there's this whole regulatory thing that I really think is super important. And I've got some dots that I want to try to connect for you. And just ask a couple of questions in general and say, here's what we should be talking about, because nobody is talking about this. And as somebody who spends all of their time in the new construction space, especially here in DFW, I think this has massive, massive implications. And I want to get it to you as quick as I can. So if you're thinking of buying new construction here in DFW, or honestly anywhere in the nation, but especially here in the market that I serve, even if you're not buying from this builder, you need to hear this, and I want to get into it. So if we haven't met before, my name is Zach. My team and I, we sell new construction real estate here in DFW. That's all we specialize in, and we do stuff like this to help make you better prepared for when it's time for you to pull a trigger to buy your new home. So this is not me speculating. This is just me reading news articles, and I want to share the article with you, and then I want to give you some thoughts on what we read. So here we go. Let me pull my screen up and I'll share the article. So we got major home builder to test placing mini data centers in suburban backyards. We all know so many conversations are happening in so many different municipalities about all these data centers, and there's everything going on. They're trying to figure out how to put them in and how to get water to them and how to get power to them. And then why do we need them? So one of the builders is saying, hey, you know what? Let's see what we can figure out. So let's just read and see what we find out. Many communities are resisting massive data centers with the need to power artificial intelligence. A California startup is betting homeowners will embrace miniature versions right in their backyards. This startup, called Span, calls the concept distributed data centers and has partnered with AI chip maker NVIDIA to test the units in a handful of communities under construction by a major home builder, the PulteGroup, which is probably America's third largest home builder, and additional home partners. The idea is to make spare use, this is important, we're going to come back to this part later. The idea is to make use of spare electrical transmission capacity already available in many neighborhoods, something Span says their smart panels that they're putting in your home can now detect. So rather than building massive new data centers, the company is proposing a network of small units, which it calls XRFA nodes, installed at homes across the country. Together, they could deliver the same computing power as a traditional warehouse-style facility, potentially easing the need for large-scale developments in any one community. For the big AI and tech companies, tapping the network wouldn't look much different than a standard data system. They would simply draw on shared power. We're just going to keep reading, and I promise you, I have a ton of thoughts. The equipment is designed to blend in with the home's exterior. Compact white XRFA boxes are installed basically along the side of the house, like an air conditioning unit or an electrical panel. About the size of an HVAC condenser, this approach would be built out far more quickly and much lower cost than constructing massive centralized data centers. They can install 8,000 of these units about 6 times faster and lower than the cost of construction of a typical centralized 100 megawatt data center of the same size. One of the biggest reasons these nodes work is this is another important piece. We're going to come back to this. The average American home uses only about 40% of its electrical capacity, a spokesperson told the Realtor.com. As big data centers struggle to develop and find power sources and distribution, these could use what's already available. NVIDIA comes in and says they are being incorporated into this system to include a liquid-cooled fanless component inside the server. The design helps eliminate most noises typically associated with data centers. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. A frequent complaint that is often there. We're trying to get access to power, so what do? We can't continue to pull these large loads. The ability to leverage existing locations have to make a lot of sense. We believe that we can bring power to AI solutions quicker, and it should add to the affordability story. So what's the benefit to the homeowner? This is what I was telling you. They're gonna try and sell you on as part of this. It says a span installation would bring in a smart panel, an outdoor unit, a backup battery, and sometimes solar panels on the home. Company says it taps into unused power. The exact arrangement will vary from one neighborhood or region to the next, but it's likely that they will start taking on paying on the host's electricity and internet bill directly and charge you, the homeowner, a flat fee every month that's much lower than what would have otherwise you'd had to pay for the electric utility and internet service provider, says one of their spokespeople. An example, a flat fee that we previously shared would be $150 a month, which is about half, what they say, of what Americans pay for electricity and internet service. In some cases, there may be no fee at all, and that's how they're going to sell it to you. Let's keep going, because this is where it gets important. Pulte, one of the largest home builders in America, is in the early stages of testing the XRFA technology as it evaluates performance and cost. It says it's being installed during the construction process at no additional cost to homeowners. That's so nice of them. And the system has already been rolled out in a small number of communities. There's a certain opportunity we can provide homeowners with access to innovative technology and potential income generation that help offset monthly energy costs. Are we sure? A Pulte spokesperson told CNBC on a larger scale that if the technology proves out, it might also keep local infrastructure from being overburdened, which could keep land open for other uses such as building homes. They plan to launch a 100-home proof of concept with the PulteGroup and additional home builder partners. Another thing that is super important. Come back to that. We will focus on deploying this within new residential construction and then look to retrofit nodes on existing residential and small commercial properties. This is going to, I read another article, this is going to roll out later this year in 2026. They're testing it in Arizona and they're testing it in Nevada. Now, I have a lot of thoughts, and I had to actually, normally I'm really good about like, hey, we're just going to kind of talk, but I needed to write my thoughts down. So I'm going to read some of them for you, because there's a connection piece, and I want to try and I just want to ask you to think critically as we work through this and see kind of where this might fall and what you might think of it and how this might directly impact us here in DFW, because it's bigger than just Pulte, because you can't just look at this and be like, oh, I'm not going to buy a Pulte home. And I'll get to that in a second. So here's what I think, here's where my mind goes. There's a connection piece, it's that old, if you remember like playing 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where you could like, hey, this person was connected to this person and this person and this person, and it all got back to Kevin Bacon, and we figured out how we did that, and it was really weird. This is kind of one of those things, and I just started researching and started reading and started trying to understand, and this is where I landed. So remember, I said this was being done by the PulteGroup. So one of the top 5 largest home builders in America. And so here's some connections that I just wanted to point out and see kind of where this leads, because I'm just a guy just speculating. So there's a name in this real estate space that nobody is actually making this connection to yet, and I wanted to look at it. His name is Bill Pulte. There's that name again. And you're like, Zach, who is Bill Pulte? Why is he important? Well, he's the grandson of William Pulte, who is the founder of the PulteGroup. He is currently the CEO of a private equity firm called Pulte Capital Partners, LLC, which he founded back in 2011. He served on the board of the PulteGroup for a 4-year term starting in 2016. That's not the weird part, but let's keep going. In 2025, January, he was confirmed, he was confirmed in March. He was nominated in January, confirmed in March of last year to be the 5th director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA. Like, what is that? That is the federal agency that regulates Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And if you're not deep in the mortgage space, those are the 2 entities that the government sets up to back mortgage loans. So he is now the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA. It regulates Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those entities combined hold about $7.7 trillion in mortgages in the United States. And so here's the reason I'm pointing this out, is because I think if I was trying to roll out a new thing that we were doing in housing and mixing with AI, there would be some government regulation. So the guy, he is director of the FHFA that regulates Fannie and Freddie, that again holds about $7.7 trillion in mortgage loans in this country. On top of that, he is also, you can look this up, this is on the government websites, he is also the chairman of the board for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. If you look it up, you'll find all of this information is out there. So William Pulte, Bill, the grandson of the company that's trying to put AI in our houses. I'm just speculating, I'm just asking questions, and let's see where the dots lead to us. So as of right now, this guy, Mr. Pulte, holds 3 roles simultaneously. He is director of the FHFA, he is chairman of Fannie Mae, he is chairman of Freddie Mac, and his family is one of the largest home builders in America. The same home builder that's piloting, potentially, the AI data center boxes on the side of brand new construction homes. Now, super caveat, he does not run the Pulte Group. Their CEO is a guy by the name of Ryan Marshall. I'm sure he's a great guy. Pulte Capital Partners is a totally separate private equity firm, has no formal affiliation with Pulte Group, based on my research. I want to be precise about it. I'm not accusing anybody of anything illegal. I'm not even telling you there's a conspiracy. I'm just asking the questions of, if something walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, might we think it's a duck? I don't know. Now, here's my speculation, and I'm truly going to call it this. If a brand new corporate easement, which is what this is, was trying to be put on new construction homes and started showing up with things tied to AI infrastructure that homeowners, you guys, or me, or anybody else, cannot legally remove, somebody somewhere in the federal government has to decide whether those properties qualify conventionally for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And even further than that, VA funding, because that's about 90% of the loans. So somebody has to decide, hey, are these things gonna kill deals if these are government-backed loans? Are these things good to go? How are we regulating these? How are we working through these easements? Or whether or not it has to be disclosed. And I think that big somebody is gonna be the FHFA, who's run now by a guy whose grandfather founded the company who's piloting this program. The same guy who's also personally chairing the board of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I just want to ask this question super plainly. Does this feel like a setup where technology gets the quick go or green light at underwriting? Does this cause us to take a hard look? You guys tell me. I don't know. I'm just here to provide information and give you what I'm thinking. Not saying this is wrong, not saying this is right. I'm telling you, it's just a connection that might be worth taking notice of, and it's a question worth asking. If you're a buyer here in DFW, specifically, again, the market that I work in, about 90% of the business we do is conventional loans or FHA loans or VA loans. We have a few people that buy with cash. As you work in the new construction space, you should be asking, not if, but when this technology spreads, what are the financing rules going to look like? Who's writing them? Who's regulating them? And does anybody have any incentives to make these rules friendlier to a builder than they do to you? That's the question I think you really need to decide for yourself. Now, here's the layer deeper, because I think this is important. So the articles, I read the Realtor.com one, I've read tons of other ones. Again, they're testing this in, I think it's Arizona and Nevada later in Q3 of 2026. But here's the real truth of this. So the Pulte Group here in DFW has 4 brands that they operate. So you have Pulte Homes, which is kind of our move-up buyers. It's really like a $400 to $600 price point. The Pulte Group also operates Syntex, which is a kind of an entry-level first-time buyer point. They also offer Del Webb, which is their 55+ communities. And then they have American West, which is kind of a little bit consolidated. It's more of their kind of value entry tier. And you see them in Frisco, Prosper, Celina. You see them all up north. You see them a little bit down south. You see them in McKinney. They have a large land position across all of these brands that the Pulte Group owns. Royce City, Forney, you name it. You could probably find one of these somewhere there, right? Now, here's the other thing that I think I'm trying to understand and parse through and learn. If the pilot works for them, then what's to say they don't roll it out across their national footprint? DFW is a top 5 growth market. In general, the amount of new construction homes here is quickly rising. I would be crazy to think that we would not be part of the second or the third wave, 18 to 36 months out at max, if they do this. But if they don't, here's the thing the other thing that I'm wondering about. If this pencils and if they write out all the deals and it works and they make money because again, at the end of the day, they're in this to make money. And if they can find another profit center, even if they don't roll this out, other builders are watching and they're going to copy. Horton is the #1 builder in America and they're based here in DFW. You don't think they're looking for a way to make more money? Lennar is everywhere here in DFW, from Anna to Mansfield. Meritage, KB Homes, Beazer, TriPoint, History Maker. And again, I am not saying any of these guys are currently doing this. I am saying they are publicly traded companies and they all have shareholders and they're all looking for new revenue. If you go back and watch one of the videos that we put out a couple weeks ago about the top 15 builder CEOs and what they were saying about the market, listen to that one. They're all looking for new ways to create revenue, right? So even if one of them doesn't bring it here and they get proof of concept and this works, what's to say somebody else doesn't bring it into our market, right? The value is there for them. Somehow, some way, they're going to make money on this. So whether or not you're shopping Pulte or not, this is something you probably need to be looking at if you're looking in the new construction space, and we need to be monitoring this. Now, I think we also have to talk about the elephant in the room, because I told you there was a sequence. I'm gonna go back to my screen real quick because I want to reread this to make sure I get this right. They're going to do this in places where there's a lot of power not being used. So they're saying we're only using 40%. Here it is. We're only using 40% of our electrical capacity within residential spaces. Some of you were not in DFW in 2021. Some of you were, and you know exactly where I'm going. We got to talk about the elephant in the room. We got to talk about the grid here in Texas. ERCOT, right? Like our power grid for all of Texas, the same grid that failed in 2021 during the massive winter storm. Same grid that failed, that killed over 200 people. The same one that left millions of us without power for days in single digit temperatures. Most of us that were here in 2021 and lived through it probably all know somebody whose pipes burst and had to relocate family because they went days without power, or they had grandparents that had no power that were freezing without heat. That happened on our grid 4 years ago. And we have a company, or we have, a couple of companies thinking we have enough capacity on our grid to power these kind of things. I want you to go back and read Span's pitch carefully. Their whole argument is that these XRFA nodes things leverage spare residential capacity that the grid is not currently using. So in super simple kindergarten terms, they want to add a corporate AI computer load to the residential grid, not a separate connection, your house, your transformer, your block, your neighborhood. And they're going to do it where? In one of the markets, potentially, that has one of the most documented grid stresses in the country. Not a knock on Texas. We love being here. It's great. It's just the reality. Our grid is designed to run isolated by design. But we've had massive population growth and they can't keep up with the growth of the grid. And our growth has outpaced the infrastructure for years. And not to mention, we already have in North Texas, in Collin County, and some of these other places, we have some of the most aggressive data center buildouts already happening, pulling on the grid. And then we're going to add this on top of that. So the question that I would be asking is, what happens when 200 homes in the neighborhood are each housing a liquid-cooled GPU node running AI workloads 24/7? What happens when it's 100 in August and ERCOT's like, hey, please raise your thermostats to 78, and we're all like, I can't do that on camera, but I would think about it. And they're already saying, and I'm just saying, I don't know the answer to that. Neither do they. But somebody should be asking, and we're going to have to figure this out, right? So we've already talked about, we've got some of the most aggressive big data centers coming into DFW. Texas regulatory and zoning stuff is friendly to this kind of development. And I would say Pulte has the footprint, the volume, and the divisional leadership in DFW to roll this out quickly if it moves past Arizona and Nevada. And they're going to do it. Right? I mean, it could be. Texas could just be one of the first dominoes to fall. And we're going to have a very, very real conversation when we do Do you want to buy a home with a AI powered grid node thingy easement on your house? Here's the other problems I am speculating and I'm wondering, and I'm hoping that I've piqued your interest and you're wondering about too. Number one, what happens in the resale space? I mean, I don't do a ton on the resale side. I'm pretty much exclusively new construction. Houses right now with solar panels, that kills a deal so quickly. What happens? What happens to that solar lease? It has to be paid off. People get into bad deals all the time. Now you add a corporate-owned, non-removable hardware box generating revenue for a third party. That's worse than solar. That's not it. Number two, financing, right? Who's paying for this? An easement. So when you get a survey for your new home, you're going to always see you have utility easements. Those are fairly standard. Hey, it's 10 feet. They can run power and electric and water and all the things that, AT&T, fiber, all of those things. An easement has to be disclosed. And so with all of this, will Fannie and Freddie allow non-standard corporate easements on finance property is an open question. What does this mean? How is this going to affect our financing? How is this going to affect what we can get on rates? How is this going to affect mortgage insurance? And it's a question that has to be answered by the FHFA, which we've already talked about earlier, is being run by the guy whose name is nobody knows. Nobody knows. So I do want to give you some practical tips on this, just some things to kind of think about. So here's just some questions that you might want to consider asking, whether it's Pulte or anybody, as you're working through this process of buying a new home. One, is anything being installed on the exterior of my home that I don't own? So my gas meter, my electric meter, my easements, ask about those things. Because I mean, truthfully, you are. So Atmos, owns our gas meters. Like, you just need to know about it. Hey, get it in writing. What's the play here? Two, show me. I want be asking. Hey, show me the easement deed and the third-party agreements attached to this property. Hey, what is this going to mean? Like, give it to me in writing. I'm sure their lawyers are going to have it. Three, the article talked about, hey, we might have, you could see your utility bill cut in half for, $150 for internet and power, and it be free. And the question I would be asking is, for how long? We had Netflix when you could get Netflix delivered in the mail, and I think it was like $5 or $7 a month. Hulu used to be $3 a month. So how long is the introductory internet and utility discount, and then what is the rate going to be afterwards? Ask it, and I guarantee you, the sales rep in those offices is not going to know yet. But I'm just saying, hey, these are just in general questions we're asking. Number four, this is a good one. What is my liability if this unit damages my home? If there's a fire, if there's a water leak, if there's structural damage, who is responsible for paying that? And then secondarily, what is this going to do to my insurance? We know, we've seen what rates happen to insurance when we had solar panels. What's this going to do to my insurance? That's not even another question. How is our insurance going to cover this? Like, if I call State Farm or Geico and I tell them, hey, I've got this super cooled AI computer thing, and it's got all these electrical components in it, what happens? Like, who's liable, right? So 6, will my homeowner's insurance cover it? You better call that insurance agent and ask. 7, how does this play out with conventional financing? Is there a chance that Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or the VA or whoever flags this in underwriting? We need to figure that out. And 8, can I opt out at any point? Can I just say, hey, you know what? I don't want this on my house. Is there an opt-out clause in there whatsoever? Those are just kind of questions we should probably be asking, and we just need to be watching. I think because if they proof that this works, they're not going to be the only ones doing it. So if you were to ask me directly, Zach, would I let a client do this? I think I've given you my answer, but I would say not yet. I'm very, very questionable on something like this. Not until they figure it out, not until the easement language is public, not until we understand the impact of the environment, not until we understand, hey, is it actually going to be silent? Are there things in this that we don't know? What's the financing path? How does it benefit our buyers? How does it benefit you? Do you get a meaningful cut of the revenue? Like, do you actually make some money on this? Not just a discounted utility bill for 18 months. So like, if you had a cell tower lease in your backyard, people get paid on that. Homeowners get paid directly. This doesn't say that yet. So I would say I'd be asking a lot of questions, and I'm hoping I'm provoking you to just kind of think. And again, we're just speculating, and my job is to help give you the best information I can. That is 100% what I see my job as, is whatever I can do to make perspective make sense for you guys. But yeah, I would be worried a little bit. So here's what we're doing. Here's kind of the thing I'm watching. I'm just tracking builders. I'm asking, I'm keeping this flagged. I'm having conversations with my lender, who does a lot of business with a lot of builders. And, we're kind of watching to see what happens with this. I would be worried about, hey, what's coming down the track? What is Fannie and Freddie going to do with this? I'm just trying to watch it and see where this makes sense. Now, a couple things people might push back on me on this, and then we'll get you out of here. So am I implying corruption? I am absolutely in no way, shape, form whatsoever fashion implying corruption. I'm just raising a public interest question, not making any accusations. I'm not telling you what's happening is wrong. I'm not telling you it's right. I'm just, connecting dots is all I'm doing. Everything that I cited is publicly documented. It's all on Fannie, Freddie, and FHFA's website and, interviews that they're giving, right? Is this fear mongering? Somebody would be like, Zach, you're just fear mongering. I am absolutely not yet, because it has not been deployed, and I'm just, just talking about it. We're just building out our playbook for our buyers to help you guys win, help you understand what questions to ask, and help you make sure you're getting the best deal possible. What happens if they pull back on this? Great. Then you still have questions that you should be asking and things you should be looking out for as you work through this serious process. Somebody would say, hey, won't this piss some of the builders off? I don't know. It might. I don't work for them. I work for you guys. My fiduciary responsibility is to our clients to represent you the best way we know how. If you're working with us, if they call, we will have a conversation with them. Again, just not implying anything, just speculating on public information on what's already out there. I just want you to know the whole market, and I want you to see what it's like. I feel like, to me, as a sports guy, this is like watching a team make a trade, and you're like, is this guy gonna work? Is he gonna fit? Is his family gonna like it here? Is he gonna score tons of goals for us? Is it gonna be a flop? Like, we don't know, right? I just see what they think the problem is, that it's actually gonna fit, but is it actually gonna fix it? All we've got right now is the press release. What happens when it's bolted onto the side of a house? That's the part we don't know yet. And by the time we do, you might already be under contract, and you might already be in trouble. So hope that helps. Hope that provides you any questions. I will tell you, if you have more questions about this, or you're looking for representation as you work through the new construction home buying process here in DFW, we would be honored to help you. Our contact information always is at the bottom. And yeah, stay curious, and let's see what comes of the AI data centers that I'm not sure why we still need all of these information spaces in the housing world. It's gonna be awesome.